Welcome
Hello.
back to Students on Strike.
We're in person, sort of, but
Yeah,
not.
but you may say, why don't you guys just do it without being on Zoom? That's because we have another guest today. His name is Mr. Carter, and he's our other English teacher. Mr. Carter, take it away.
All right, so today you want me to kind of talk a little bit about bad movies. So
Yeah,
I have a
Yes.
whole
yes,
lot of bad movies to talk about. So you'll kind of have to just guide me as to what direction you want
we
those bad
will.
movies to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, alright, so we're gonna start off again with Ready, Set, Rank It. And since we're on Zoom, we're gonna do 5 instead of 10, because it's a lot of time and people. Mr. Carter told us beforehand that he has 18 different bad movies. Now, Luke and I, we both made a list of 5, so we
I
may
sort of
extend the
made a
segment.
list.
We may extend the segment for Mr. Carter to talk. I guess I'll
Okay.
start since I have my fifth one. Um, my fifth worst movie is The Babadook. Now, I don't watch scary movies,
Oh.
right? I don't watch scary movies, but the one scary movie I have watched, I was with Luke, and the movie makes no sense. It's sort of just crazy all around. The
I
child
love
is a
the Babadook.
psychopath, and he like kills a dog. But yeah, it's
Uh,
just an awful movie.
well, I love the Babadook.
Yeah,
Three knocks, and then it says his name.
yeah.
No, but the Babadook is not a bad movie. The Babadook's actually a spectacular film. But anyways, my fifth worst movie, and the only reason it's on here is because I just truly didn't like it, and it's a disgrace to an amazing movie franchise. It is Rise of Skywalker.
Yep,
It is
awful
an
movie.
awful movie.
I love Star Wars, favorite thing in the entire world, but it's an awful movie.
Yes.
Have you seen Rise of Skywalker, Mr. Carter?
Yeah, of course. I've seen it. I've seen it. I have mixed feelings about it, but it's not anywhere near these turds that I'm getting ready to
Okay.
share with you. Bad. These
All
are
right.
some
Well,
bad movies.
why don't you since you have 18 of them, why don't you list off 5 right now? You go through different categories.
Okay, well let's start with Will Smith because he's got a couple. You go back a little bit earlier in his career, there was one movie that I think back on. It was starring his son, and it's called After Earth. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
seen
Yeah.
After Earth
Yeah.
or not. It's just a painful movie from the beginning to the end, and I can't. It's one of those movies I never was able to get through. I get the concept of science fiction for this, but it irks me from start to probably 2/3 of the way in when I have to turn it off because I dislike it so much. Um, then you go back even farther in his career. His One of his first big, huge blockbusters that he did was a movie called Wild Wild West, and he
Hmm.
had a hit song. Like this was a huge blockbuster. That's a bad movie. It's a bad movie with the villain. It's a bad movie with his with Kevin Kline as being like his buddy in that movie. Ugh, that movie. No, that as a yeah, it's a bad movie
Not a
from
good
start
movie.
to finish on that one. But I have others. Um, One that jumps out at me when you guys task me with coming up with bad movies was the idea of, well, why do I think something is bad? Like, what's the reason behind it? And sometimes it's just the character, it's just the actor that portrays. I have a really hard time getting into anything that The Rock does. So his most recent movie, which made it to a lot of people's worst of the year movie, was Black Adam.
I never
Um,
watched it.
Dude, it was
I didn't want
so
to watch
bad.
it because it
And
looked like it said.
it was, if I'm correct, it wasn't even supposed to be like just a Black Adam film. They were gonna do a film where it was Shazam and Black Adam, but The Rock wanted his own movie, so they gave him his own movie, and it was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible. But he did this for a couple where like I don't know if we even want to say it. He hijacks the idea that this needs to be him in a bigger role. But he did Baywatch a while back, and they didn't even let. I don't know. It just was a bad movie all around. But so The Rock to me, there's not a lot that he touches that I get excited about as a movie. But one other one that jumped out that was on a lot of people's worst movie last year, I think, is Morbius.
Oh, I didn't watch that
Oh,
one
it's
either. I
so
watch all the
bad.
Marvel movies and I didn't watch that one because I didn't
Yeah.
want to.
Well, Morbius. The reason that that movie gets under my skin is that I absolutely cannot stand Jared Leto as an actor.
Yeah.
There's nothing about him that I cheer in Fight Club when Edward Norton's character pummels him and beats him up so badly that it disfigures him. That's how much I can't stand him as an actor. I really don't like Jared Leto at all. And Morbius, I was glad it tanked, and I'm glad it made this list because I don't get excited about that at all. But those are a couple from the recent ones. But if
Okay.
we start to go back a little bit more, let me see here. I'm gonna take a look. There's some classics that always make the list, and probably they call it the Citizen Kane of bad movies is Plan 9 from Outer Space. I don't know if you've ever heard of this movie
I've
or
heard of the
not, but
movie. I don't know if I've
Yeah.
the
ever seen it
science,
though.
the special effects are horrible. The acting's horrible. Everything's horrible about it. They turned the production of this into another movie called Ed Wood, and Ed Wood was the was played by Johnny Depp, and he's the director of this movie, Plan 9 from Outer Space, and how that movie got made. And it's enjoyable. Like you watch this, but it's an awful movie. What's the guy that just did? They also did something recently where it's like The Room. Is it Tommy Wiseau? Is that his name? That's something that came out recently where the the premise is so awful, and then they make something to show just how bad it was. And I think what's the guy? He is friends with um I'll have to come back to it. I can't think of the guy who plays Tommy Wiseau in the movie. James Franco. Do
Oh,
that make
yeah.
any
Yeah.
sense at all? Now,
Yeah.
do you remember
Uh-huh.
it?
Yeah.
But like that's the idea. Is like there are movies that are bad, but they really weren't. Like the people behind them didn't set out to make a bad movie. So that's why
No.
I don't like to put that in as like bad movies because that's somebody trying really hard with. So that's where I get kind of one of the worst ones recently, Jurassic Park Dominion, the last one.
I didn't mind that movie. It wasn't awful compared to my number four. I think my number four is awful. But
Well, I Jurassic Park Dominion was seemed like to me a colossal money grab, and it was
Yeah.
so unnecessary. I just, uh, it's too much. We didn't need Sam Neill.
Mhm.
We didn't need him coming back again. I don't know. Whatever abomination they're going to create next, like the
yeah,
abominable snowman Rex or whatever it is that they keep creating each movie. So I
probably.
don't know, but that one was a tough one for me. There was nothing about that movie that was enjoyable to watch.
Well, speaking of cash grabs and money grabs, can I say my number? I'm gonna say my number four.
Go
Well,
for it.
my number four, I saw this, yeah, last year, summertime. I was like, oh, I'm so excited for this movie. It's gonna be a great movie. Fast X. It was an awful movie. It left off on a cliffhanger, so now they have to make a sequel to Fast X, which is already 10 movies. So, I don't know if you saw that movie, but like you said earlier, I don't think they set out to make a bad movie, but I feel like they sort of intended to do it because it was just so bad that Vin Diesel didn't use his full acting ability. I feel like Groot did more acting for Vin Diesel
Well,
than he did
that's
in the
where you're
movie.
never going to find joy and viewership of that film because you just use the phrase Vin Diesel and then acting involved in that sentence. I don't think you're going to find what you're looking for with Vin Diesel as an actor. So I interrupted you. So what were you going to say there? I should have allowed you to finish that sentence, but that's why you're not going to find
I
joy
think
in
that
that.
basically was my sentence because he can't act, but
Yep.
Yeah. Now wait, was The Rock in that one? Was that a
yeah, that was like
um,
it's like that. It's sort of
what
like the
was
end
that? What
game,
is it? He didn't he do one with
Infinity
Jason
War.
Statham? It was like
Yeah, Hobbs and
McDonald's
Shaw.
and Hobbs or something like that, where they like
Yeah,
had
Hobbs
trouble
and
at the
Shaw. Yeah,
McDonald's.
Mhm.
I
Remember?
don't remember McDonald's, but yeah, I don't. I just like that the Hobbs and Shaw movie because one of them had a Jason Statham had a McLaren, and that's the only reason I like the movie. But yeah,
Now I'll tell you my favorite Fast and Furious movie, and that's the one that contains none of the actors. It's the one that's in Japan or wherever it is,
Tokyo
Hong
Drift.
Kong.
Yeah,
Tokyo
Tokyo
Drift,
Drift is
yes.
amazing.
I
That
like
is
Tokyo
such a
Drift.
joy to watch because you don't have to worry about any of the nonsense about submarines shooting up out of the ice and
Yep,
they're in a
Yep.
Camaro or whatever. It's just them
you're
like
gonna take
driving.
down two full helicopters with a
Yeah, I mean
Dodge.
Tokyo
Yeah.
Drift's a joy. That one was fun. I didn't mind
Yeah.
that one at all.
All right,
Um,
Luke.
Okay.
What's your number
Well,
four?
my next movie is, I think this would make a lot of people's
Hmm.
lists. Jack and Jill with
Oh
Adam
yeah.
Sandler. It is
Good choice.
so bad. It is
Good
a
choice.
ridiculously stupid movie.
Dunkachino.
Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so terrible. Where he's playing himself and his sister, and it's just the entire movie just makes me question who wrote this and why this was a good
Yeah.
idea ever.
I would say the reason probably that it was made was that someone was given a large pile of money and then given a green light to do it, or it was probably part of a package deal where you have to make 10 movies over the next 10 years and here's $200 million to do it. And you birthed that abomination, and that's what came out. It was awful. It was an awful movie. But he did a
Yeah.
couple of those. Adam Sandler's done a couple really terrible films.
Yeah,
I like Adam Sandler
I
though.
mean, Click was
Oh
bad.
yeah, Click was awful. Do you have like a sort of number four, Mr. Carter? Like a next sort of category-ish?
Well, I mean, you both know this one. This is one of my favorite bad movies, and that's Velocipaster. You cannot really. It's bad when you turn off movies really early. Like you can't get excited about a premise where it's a man who is a priest who has a power to turn into a velociraptor while he's on a mission trip in China. It's just overwhelming. I don't know if there's anything that's really going to top that. I have a few that would possibly like the premise could possibly beat that, but no, Velocipaster, that's just one of the silliest movies like that. I mean, that's a lot of people. A lot of
Yeah.
people worked on that to create that, and that a lot of people who got paid to make that thing. And
Mhm.
And
I don't
you
know.
signed that for extra credit for us
Oh,
for class,
yeah,
yeah.
no one's ever done it because I don't think
Nope.
anybody's ever gotten through it because
I
it's
was
just so
going to,
awful.
but then I was like, I
Yeah,
don't really know
no,
if I want to
no one
spend
will.
an
No
hour and
one
a
will
half.
do it because you have to invest so much time. It's work. That's what that one is.
Yeah.
It's work to watch it. It's work to follow through with it. Yeah, Velocipaster for me is. But yeah, I'll always put that one up there. That's a
Yeah.
joy. That's a gift.
All right. My number three, I doubt either of you have even heard of this movie. Um, it's called Baby Geniuses and the Mystery of the Crown Jewel.
Yeah,
So, have you heard of this movie?
I have heard of it, but I
Yeah.
have never seen this movie.
Yeah.
So, the basic premise of Baby Geniuses is there's a group of babies that can all talk because they're geniuses. And, well, what they do is they're like sort of international spies, I guess. And in this one, I guess the crown jewels get stolen, but then there's also like an evil baby with like gets carried around, I think. And then there's like a one guy who his giant pizza gets stolen. And you may say, Patrick, you probably just made all of that up, and I could have, but no, that's an actual movie. And I watched that with my sister and then my babysitter when I was like 10, and we tried to find it again, but it's on no streaming services or Amazon or YouTube. So
It's probably on Tubi with
Is
all
it
the
only
original content.
available on VHS now to be purchased? Or
probably, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's an awful movie. But I'd watch it
yeah,
again.
yeah.
What? Well, my next film is a movie I've watched pretty recently. Mr. Carter, I don't know if you've seen it. You might have. It came out pretty recently. It's called Uncle Peckerhead. It's terrible. It is so bad. It's about this guy who, so it's, well, it starts off with this band who's going on tour, and they're like this punk rock band, and they need a car to go on tour because it's like their first tour, and they go to like these small clubs. But they ask this guy if they can use his van, and this guy lets them use the van. And so they find like blood in the van and stuff. So this guy at like midnight, he turns into like this creature, and this creature is like the worst designed monster I've ever seen in a movie before. They just put like gray makeup on his face and put some like fake blood around his mouth and call it a creature. And the scenes where he's like eating people is absolutely hilarious because he just like turns into this monster. But the acting is horrible, the makeup's terrible, and the just premise is terrible because
Yep.
they see him eat people like 6 times, and they still let him drive them around because they think he's a nice person.
Wait,
Seems
I'm confused. So I'm looking at some stills from this. I don't want to. I'm struggling to understand. So the guy with the beard, his
Yeah.
costume, his makeup when he it is available in Blu-ray though, apparently.
Yep.
Um, his costume is just his face is gray. That's it.
Yep.
And then he killing people or is there something?
He like eats people. He like
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a great movie. I came to study hall and you were watching that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not on my list. I haven't seen that one. That's not on my to watch list anytime soon. But
It was pretty
thank you
painful.
for yeah. If I see it and it comes up, I will definitely watch like 3 minutes of it before I shut it off. So.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, so you want another one here?
Yeah, another one, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was telling you guys that one of the things I was thinking about was just like, well, what makes a bad movie? Is it just like poor quality, or is it the acting? It could be a lot of things. So for me, let's talk about one of the funniest things that's ever happened that resulted in a movie. So if you've ever fallen or if you've ever followed like during the 80s and 90s when Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger were like the two biggest action stars, they had like a friendly rivalry with one another where they would try to get these roles. Like each of them were always go to Stallone or get Arnold. So Arnold had been pitched this idea supposedly, and the idea was um, this movie, and he was like, "This is terrible. This is a terrible movie idea." So what he did was he kept saying to people that he knew, "Make sure that Sylvester Stallone hears that I'm going to take this movie, and let's see if he's going to take it before I do." And so Stallone signs on for the movie, and the movie ultimately becomes Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, and it stars Estelle Getty, and it's so dumb. The whole premise of it, if you get a chance to watch it, just watch it and then realize that behind the scenes, that Schwarzenegger is laughing hysterically over the fact that Stallone signed on for this movie and decided that he was going to do it at like the peak of his box office draw. It is a terrible movie. So if you get a chance, but that's the type of stuff I like when you get a movie where you hear about it and you're like, that can't be true. We were saying earlier, you give the pitch. I think there's something like a crime boss is involved, or who even knows? It's just junk from start to finish. So it's a pure joy to watch. So if you get a chance, Stop or My Mama Shoot,
Maybe I'll
starring
watch that one. It's a good
Sylvester
movie.
Stallone and Estelle Getty. Yeah, it's a huge turd.
All right. My number two was said previously. That's Rise of Skywalker, as Luke said.
Mhm.
Star Wars is probably like my favorite movie franchise. Actually, no, it is my favorite movie franchise of all time. And Rise of Skywalker just made all the rest of them sort of seem awful, but not awful. The sequel trilogy seem awful, and I like most of the sequel trilogy. I like Force Awakens, and a lot of people don't like Last Jedi, but I like Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rise of Skywalker, the whole thing with the knife didn't make sense because if they had stood in any other spot on that one cliff, they would not have pinpointed to the
Mhm.
one part of the Death Star. So yeah, and also sort of just copied Endgame at the end of it with all the ships coming to help.
Right.
But the lightsaber fights are sort of cool. But yeah, that's it.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it doesn't make super high on my list because I mean, it's not like it was a awful movie. It was just
No,
really
but
bad,
it's awful enough
and
for
it
me
was
because it
such a
ruined it.
disappointment
Well,
in
your
terms of
your
the movie.
expectations are higher.
Yeah,
You want it to
exactly.
be so much better.
Right.
And my dad and I were at the convention that year, and like we saw the trailer for it, and like we were one of the first people to see it, and the trailer looked amazing, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be a fantastic end to the thing, and it was awful.
Well, my next movie is another movie I've watched pretty recently. I watched it with Patrick. Dave Made a Maze. It is terrible. It's a B film. It is incredibly
Yep.
awful. So it's about this guy who builds a box fort while his girlfriend's away
For like 3 days.
for like
3 days.
3 days.
Keep 3 days in mind.
3 days. And this box fort turns into this maze. But in this maze is like this minotaur thing that's made out of cardboard that runs around the maze killing people. And this maze is like it's like a box sport, but it like keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Hmm.
And so in this movie, the girlfriend apparently has like a documentary crew that follows her into this
Okay,
maze.
and the guy that's leading the documentary crew, he was in Oppenheimer, so I don't know how he went from that movie to Oppenheimer, but yeah,
Yeah. So this documentary crew, the girlfriend, and some other random guy who we
yeah.
don't even really know
His
who
name's
he is,
Gordon.
Gordon, is in the maze. And they're going through this maze. So there's like apparently when Dave was building this maze, he put like booby traps in the maze. And like there's like little cardboard saws and spears
Yeah,
and stuff.
but also no, one thing that he did in the maze somehow, he created multiple things of life
Yeah.
that just came to life, and then
He made like origami flamingos
that were alive,
that
and
were
then.
alive.
But wait, let me give you a few like let me give you a stat right here. So Dave Made a Maze had a budget of $500,000. You're like, wow, that's a lot of money. I bet they made at least some of that back. No, they made $37,000. So they made no profit whatsoever, not even close to making profit. But on the thing, like on the intro screen, I guess, like they show all the awards that it won, but there's no way that could have won any awards because it was awful.
Yeah, so when people died in the maze, they would like spew
Did
out
they actually
silly
die in real life? Like
Yes.
that's how
yeah.
bad it was.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it turned into like confetti though.
Yeah,
Sort
they
of.
Like
like
I'm looking at this. This is 6.3, a 6.3 on IMDb, 86% Rotten
I
Tomatoes,
know.
60%
yeah.
Metacritic.
Like, wow,
That's
that'd be a great
crazy.
movie. It's an awful movie. It's not.
83% like this
Terrible.
movie. Google users? What?
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah, it's
way.
terrible.
That's awesome. Good
I
choice.
like the entire time I was watching it, I was envisioning the end of the movie just being Dave sitting in a box,
Yeah.
like rocking back and forth because he's like
Well,
mentally ill.
I thought it was like sort of like a dream sequence, like and his girlfriend had broken up with him, and like he wanted to like spend time with her or something. I don't know, but
Well, I like this choice. This is a good choice. This
yeah.
is one I would seek out to watch just because of your description. That's good. That's great.
All right.
Good.
Give another one, Mr. Herder.
Um, well, for the longest time, I was always frustrated by the Airbud movies, and that's a whole franchise that could
Yeah.
get its
Yeah.
own category, and we can discuss all those. I still don't like the fact that those were produced and that people felt the need to multiply that effort over and over and over again. But I don't want to focus on Airbud. I want to focus on LeBron James Space Jam because that one is one of the worst ones that I get it. I get look and the first Michael Jordan Space Jam, fans loved it. Fans loved it. It's not critically acclaimed, but Space Jam was what it was. I'll be honest with you. I had to stop LeBron James Space Jam at 30 minutes because I couldn't. His acting was so awful. And I don't know why. He must be surrounded by people who keep saying the same thing. Like, you're going to be great in a movie. You should make more movies because I think some people must be getting paid as producers somehow. But he's got to stop being in stuff. Like his Space Jam, I couldn't finish it. It made me want to watch Air Bud. And I just that's a challenge. That's really challenge. I
Well,
couldn't get into it. I couldn't finish it. I'm sure it made $1 billion, but I couldn't
I don't
stand it.
know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna give a spoiler. We've been spoiling all the movies we're talking about, so it doesn't really matter. The Space Jam with LeBron James, Bugs Bunny dies at the end of it.
Yeah.
You can't kill Bugs Bunny. He comes back though. So like 5 minutes later, so it's not even like there were any consequences. But
Also, I have like no understanding of like any of like the video game technology.
yeah, neither did
and
I.
stuff.
Like it was basically just an ad for Warner Brothers, right? No, Universal.
No,
Universal.
Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Okay.
An ad for one
Just
of those.
looking quickly. They got a 4.5 on IMDb, and it grossed $164 million.
What?
Who knows what it costs to make? But the box office of 164, that's insane.
I feel like
That's
you can make a profit by just being like a remake of a movie that was really great.
Yeah.
Sort of great.
Well, what do you think they're doing now?
Yeah. All right. My number
That's all.
one worst movie of all time. Now, this was a TV show first. TV show. I should have had this on my list. I completely forgot to put it on my TV show list. But, one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh.
The way, or like that movie by M. Night Shyamalan, right? He's a pretty well-known director, but the movie was just awful. The acting was terrible. Special effects were fine. But the main thing was like the weird running on the walls of Aang. And also, the TV show, they pronounce Aang's name like this, Aang, and they specifically changed the pronunciation of his name in the movie to
Yeah,
Ong, which I was just so mad watching the movie. Because Ong is the Avatar now, and yeah.
yeah. I watched all of like the Avatar stuff during COVID again, like during quarantine. It's so terrible. Like the live action version of Avatar is so bad.
I really hope the TV show's good. It comes out in like a week, so.
Yeah. Well, my number one is another remake cash grab. The sequel to Coming to America, Coming
Coming
to
to
America
America.
2. It's so bad. Um, Half of it didn't even have to do with Eddie Murphy
Yeah.
at all. And then I don't even really remember the premise. I just remember watching it and saying this is painful
I
to
feel like it's like
watch.
the exact same movie. I can't remember it at all. I
Yeah.
just remember like some clips that look exactly the same.
It's a good choice, though. It's a good choice
Yeah.
for your number one.
Yeah.
I'm impressed
Yeah.
by that. Okay, so it's my turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a couple more left, so we can kind of go in any direction.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the '80s, and then I'll close out my number one pick. All right,
Okay.
All right.
because I got a mix of things. You saw movies in the '80s. Movies in the '80s had this over the top production value. So I'm going to start with Stephen King. Maximum Overdrive is this movie that's based around the idea of like this pulse or like electricity takes over all of the electronics and things in the world. So like all the cars kind of like self-drive at that point and they're all evil. And like soda machines, there's like a certain evil that runs through all of the machines now. And there's a scene where I think it's at the beginning where the guy, there's like a dad and he goes up to a Coke machine or a soda machine and he presses the button and it starts to shoot out sodas at him at such a speed that it hurts him. And he's like, oh, and he's like dodging soda cans. And then finally one hits him in the head and it sticks in his skull and it kills him. And then for like the next 10 minutes, there's a whole series of those. So maximum that was Stephen King movies in the 80s were just like that. Then you go into like the bigger budget ones with um, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando. If you've never seen Commando, it's a joy to watch because it's full of one-liners. It's stupid from start to finish, and it's a guilty pleasure, really. But it's also like the guilty pleasure that's Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse. Now you can put that as your number one because it doesn't make any sense to have, as they say, the coolest person in the world be a bouncer. And so that's what he is. He's a bouncer, and it's I don't know how many years, 30-year-old movie now, but the scene that he uses his bare hand and then reaches out and then rips out somebody's throat to kill them. That's awesome. It's such a joy. And now they're getting ready to remake that one as well, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. So get excited about a remake for Roadhouse. Um, but I have more I can go, and I can see I probably shouldn't occupy too much. But my number one movie, that's the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life, is the 1995 colossal turd Showgirls. If you've never seen Showgirls, there is no need to see it at all. It came out with so much hype that it was like this action movie, this comedy movie. It was over the top. It looked great. I think the director's name is Paul Verhoeven, and he's critically acclaimed. It is awful. And I left the movie. I paid for it. I couldn't stand it, and I walked out. It legitimately is my worst movie I've ever seen in my life. There's no guilty pleasure in rewatching it. It's just really, really bad. And so that's my number one pick. I have others I could share with you if you want, but as my number one of all time, that's sort of, it goes from the 80s, which was fun, to all of a sudden, no, it's not fun anymore. This is not good. So yeah,
I've never
Showgirls.
seen Showgirls, but
I've heard of it.
yeah, so have I. Maybe Luke and I should watch it and then
Yeah.
do something with that. Okay, so that was a really long top movies. Worst movies. So we're gonna take a little break and then we'll come back with a returning segment, Topic Twister,
Hi, we're back.
once again.
Once again.
All right.
Alright, so next segment, Topic Twister, where I go on an AI and it gives me a random topic.
Also known as Snapchat AI. But
Yep.
yeah.
Snapchat AI. Alright, give me a topic to discuss on my podcast. Got it. Luke, how about exploring the fascinating world of conspiracy theories on your podcast?
Well, that sounds like a great idea, Snapchat AI. So conspiracy theories, right? Aliens, are they real? I feel like aliens have to be real. Let's just start with aliens.
Yeah.
Do a big one real quick. I feel like aliens have to be real.
I think we know that aliens are real.
Well, yeah, I feel like we do too. Right? Isn't like the whole thing they found like water on Mars, like the evidence of water,
Well,
which means there
they
had to
also-
have been life or something? I feel like you know this, Mr. Carter.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
sure that they're real. I'll
They
just say
found-
that. I
they
don't know
found
where
the-
to go with this one.
They found a door on Mars, like, or something. Like, they, like, allegedly found what looked like a door on Mars. When I first saw the picture, I thought it was pretty stupid, but now
Yeah.
that I think about it, like, no one can construct a frame like
I don't
that
know.
on Mars.
Nature's pretty crazy, so maybe
Yeah.
that does it. I don't know. Aliens. I think our general consensus is that aliens are real.
Yeah.
That's what we've
It's
decided.
just not the thing they had in Mexico that was definitely made out of, like, paper mache.
Probably, yeah. Well, there was another thing I was going to talk about for conspiracy theories, but then I forgot. Oh yeah, lizard people. All right,
I was
are they
actually
running the
gonna say-
government? Maybe. I feel like not like maybe not the government, but like
Mark
Wall
Zuckerberg
Street.
looks like a lizard, so,
Yeah,
like,
maybe. It's like Wall Street is run by lizard people.
Yeah, that's possible. So where are these lizard people? Are they under the airport, the Denver airport? Is that where they live?
Probably,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
One
That's
thing.
why it was constructed there. They
Yeah,
constructed.
probably.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Denver, yeah.
Gotcha.
One thing that my friend Bates, our friend Bates, says is that so we were doing like a national history thing, which is the like a project that you do to get a grade. But Bates was like, you know what? We're gonna talk about ancient Egypt and how it was built by huge people, like giants. And then he pulls up this article on his computer that says, well, not says it's just a picture of like a giant skeleton in a pit.
Mhm.
And he doesn't bother to read the caption that's right below it that says hoax. This is not a real thing. And were giants a real thing? That was what I was leading to, but are giants a real thing?
No.
Were they? How do you know?
Well,
Ancient Greek?
I mean, what's that island where all those huge
The Easter Island?
Oh, yeah. And
Yeah,
there's, like,
I mean-
bodies underneath the head
yeah,
and
those are
whatever,
like
yeah.
those could be huge people, but I don't think that's aren't
Yeah.
the Dutch really tall as well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're basically the giants of the
Probably,
modern day.
Yeah.
Where basketball players are also pretty tall.
Yeah.
I think I'm definitely a believer in the Illuminati. Not like the whole like celebrities like flashing the Illuminati thing, but like the fact that there's like an organization of like all the world's most powerful people together to basically run the world. I do believe
Yeah,
that.
it's like a secret club.
Yeah.
Meet somewhere.
Yeah.
The Pentaverance, right? Call
They
it
show
a
up in their
Sphinx.
black robes.
Yeah. It's just
The
cool.
Pope, the Queen or the King, Colonel Sanders, right?
Yeah.
They're all a
Yeah,
part of it.
definitely.
They're
Uncle
all-
Sam. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That sounds like a pretty
Rothschilds.
realistic thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Conspiracy theories are hard to do. Because
Conspiracy theories are not hard to do at all. You just have to come up with the great ones.
All right, I'm gonna come up with a conspiracy theory right now. I think that all teachers really just don't actually do all like the knowing of stuff. They just sort of make it up on the spot, you know? Wait, so you're teaching us Catcher in the Rye right now, correct? Yeah. So when you're in the class, you just sort of like read through the book and then you sort of make up your own opinions that happen to seem like they would be.
No, not necessarily. That's not the way that it works.
But see, that's just you covering it up for all the other teachers out there.
he works
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I can show you my lesson plans. You can see what we're doing for the next, the entire unit. The entire unit, if you want to. I'll show you everything if you want to see it. I have more to it.
All right.
yeah.
Well,
Work to do.
So when I do that stuff, with some of the stuff with the reading, what I notice when I give you guys a quiz or something like that is the idea that some of you haven't read, but we need to read as a group in order to understand some things, or at least talk about it. We need to talk about a theme, or we need to talk about something that's being said, or we need to talk about the way the author is writing. If I don't do that, people won't. Like last year, I read almost the entire book for last year's class because nobody was reading. So unfortunately, that's what it was going to take in order to do it. This year, you guys have actually, from what I can tell, have read a lot more than last year's group.
I
Last year's
must say,
group really dug in and said, no, we're not going to read no matter what.
I've read the chapters that you've assigned. Luke
Well, and
just
I
like
know
read the book
Luke's
three
already read the
times.
whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And then that helps to have like an active conversation. But when nobody says anything at all, like they were
Right.
doing
Yeah.
last year, it's a little bit of a challenge. So
That makes sense.
I'm not always making it up. I know it may seem like that as we go along. I'm really trying to get people to talk, and that doesn't always happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite conspiracies is JFK assassination. It truly interests me because I don't think it went down the way it
Wait,
went
what's the
down.
conspiracy theory about it? Like it
There,
didn't
well,
happen?
there's
or-
many different
Oh.
theories. So there's first theory. Well, there is a theory that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't shoot him. See, my favorite theory is the two-shooter theory. I think there were two shooters. And I think the other shooter was Jack Ruby, the guy who shot Lee Harvey Oswald. And I think Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald because he didn't want Lee Harvey Oswald to reveal that he had helped him shoot JFK.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I think
Because there's no shot that you get shot in the back of the head, your head goes forward, and then your head goes back with like
Or the-
another shot.
or the car stopped,
Yeah.
so his head went back.
Was he wearing his back brace that day? That would have made him lunge back the
Yeah.
other way.
Yeah.
That's
So if he
true.
gets shot in the head and goes forward, and his back brace is that thing that's so tight because he needed his back brace,
That's true.
he would whip back.
Exactly. Luke.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
I think my favorite conspiracy theory is the Tupac one. That Tupac's still alive. I think Tupac is like living in the sewers with like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And he's living on an island with
Yeah.
Elvis and Michael Jackson.
Exactly. All those
Yeah.
people are just still alive. They just don't want to produce music anymore. They don't want to get backlash for it.
Jim Morrison's also out there with them.
I don't think. I hate to. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's too much money. There's too much money to be made these days. There's no way that those guys are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Living their
No.
best life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, last 2 years prior to you guys, the biggest thing was that Kyrie Irving had said that the Earth was flat, and then all of a
yeah.
sudden, I had a series of students who wanted to have engaged, active conversations about the legitimacy of whether or not the Earth was flat. And I'm teaching English. I don't have any interest to engage for like multiple class periods on whether or not the Earth is flat. So I do not believe that the Earth is flat. I do not believe that it's like a frisbee. I do not believe that. I just don't. So I would say for sure that no, the Earth is not flat.
It's actually physically impossible for the Earth to be flat because it would implode on itself. So
Yeah.
I mean, I like the stuff when you find out somebody decided that they were going to build their own rocket to disprove that the Earth is flat, and then they shot themselves up in the air, and they ended up dying from their stupid experiment. I mean, that stuff to me is like I told you guys at the beginning of the year. It's like people who want to go near wild animals at our national parks deserve what they should get in the end. It's you cannot be that stupid to think that a buffalo is going to pose for a selfie with you and everything's going to be fine. It's not. It's just crazy talk. So, yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not
Okay.
flat. It's not flat, viewers. I'm sorry.
All right. So I think that concludes Topic Twister.
Yeah.
I think next time we flesh out a better topic because the controversies one was sort of hard to do, like off the
Yeah.
top of our heads. All right.
Yeah.
Our next one, another reoccurring one, but with a different thing. It's drafting things. But this is with, instead of the first draft, instead of with the letter L, it's going to be with the letter C. So we're going to each draft about 5 things, and Mr. Carter we'll start off and then you can follow along. You'll have to pick third though. So I've got a list of 12 things, but we're only picking 5 just in case someone else has my stuff. But yeah, all right. My number one pick for the
Wait a second. I
wait.
need a slight bit of clarification. Like, what's the end goal? Is it
Oh,
just
so it's not like the best sort of like team all around.
Yeah, who has the best list of things that start with the
Yeah.
letter C?
the best
Yeah.
list? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Let's see where it'll go because I
Okay.
still don't know. I don't think my choices are that strong, to be honest with you.
Okay. My number one pick to the 2024 draft for things that start with the letter C is Cars, right? Cars.
The movie or Cars in general?
I think the movie goes in with
Yeah.
Cars in general, but it's sort of no, it's Cars
Story.
like Cars in general, like driving a car. And the reason I picked this is because Cars, they're fast, they get you where you want to go, and they sound cool. So yeah, I chose Cars.
Well, that's a great pick.
Thank you.
But my pick is someone who discovered a lot for us, Christopher Columbus.
Christopher Columbus did not discover America. Christopher Columbus landed in the Bahamas, dude.
Yeah, but like,
It's a terrible decision.
Pick.
A horrible human being.
He should be on the worst things at the start of the letter C. He killed a lot of Native Americans, and he didn't even land in America. So
well, Christopher Columbus because he's Italian, or
he's not Italian.
or
though. He's from
Spanish.
Spain.
This pick is awful. This is a terrible pick.
All right, Mr. Carter, what's your number one
All right,
pick?
draft.
Well, see, then I don't know. I don't even know if mine are any better. Okay, so my first pick this year in our 2024 draft of things that began the letter C, I'm going to go strong with Chewbacca just because
Oh,
he
it's not even
brings
my
such
list.
joy. Chewbacca brings me
Oh.
such joy that I can't. It's just you can't beat it.
That's a great
Yeah,
pick. I
yeah.
should have had that on my list. Okay. My number 2 pick, I think it's gotta be the cinema, right? Because watching movies, we talked about the worst movies. Sometimes worst movies can bring you joy, sometimes they bring you hatred, and sometimes they bring you sadness. But a good movie, they can bring you all 3 of those as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah, movies, cinema, sorry, not movies.
So my second pick, I think this is gonna rebound me a bit. My second pick is Christ himself.
Okay.
So yeah, I got Christ.
I don't know if that's quite a fair pick. Like, he's sort of like the administrator over the picks.
Well,
All right.
it starts with C.
Okay, let's just review Luke's picks so that the audience, the viewers, don't forget it. So far, we got Christopher Columbus and Christ. What a huge disparity between those two people. All right. Okay. Well, I think we kind of interrupted you, Luke. Did you want to say more about Christ?
No.
But that's it. Just
Christ.
Okay.
Okay. I think that for my second pick, I'm gonna go. I don't know how to say it, but let's do it this way. I'm gonna go with my second pick. I'm gonna stay with the creature theme,
Okay.
and I'm gonna go with the chupacabra, just because I think the chupacabra needs a little bit more excitement in everybody's life, and I would love for it to be a part of what we're doing today here with the draft. So I'm going with the chupacabra. That's my
chupacabra. That's a great pick. All right, my number 3 pick. It's gonna be a person this time. I'm choosing Christian Bale. No, Luke says Christian Bale is his favorite actor.
No, Christian Bale's not.
You're close to your favorite actor. Well, Christian Bale, he's Batman. He's a serial killer. He's
a stockbroker.
He's blind in some things. Like, yeah.
He's
he's got one eye in Amsterdam. That's what I was trying to say by blind.
He's in The Machinist, which is
Yeah.
also a terrible movie.
He's in generally around good movies. He's my number 3 pick.
Okay.
Well, my next pick is gonna be Cameron Diaz, the actor.
Okay. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Christopher Columbus, Christ, and Cameron Diaz.
Yep. Cameron
That's a
Diaz.
That's a roster right there.
Yeah,
That's a party
that is
right
how you
there.
build it. This
Well-
is how you build a. This is how you build a team.
I mean, I've gone with 2 creatures, and you've gone with 3 people, so it's kind of a weird mix of things right now.
And I
Yeah.
just Very good
Is it
thing.
on to me, Luke, or did you have
Yeah.
more to say?
No, that's about it.
Okay. I'm going to go with chocolate chip cookies just because
Okay.
Yeah.
I love chocolate chip cookies. I think that would be a good one. Although I think now I've fallen into third place with Luke's trio of people. I don't think I can come back from that. So I'll have to
Yeah.
think about this a little bit more.
Okay. Well, mine. I'm going back and forth between a few things, but I think I'm gonna choose cash. Cash cold, cold cash. Because everybody needs cash for buying things,
Mhm.
buying Christopher Columbus. He tried. No, I don't even know what Christopher Columbus did besides do bad things, so I can't
Uh,
justify your answer.
Made people sick,
Yeah,
took their things.
yeah. I think cash
Maybe
cash
Christopher
is my number
Columbus is
four.
like one of the greatest pirates of all time, and we just don't know it.
He's not a pirate though.
But he sort of is because he stole things, made people sick, and I assume drank a lot.
Probably. All right. Yeah, mine's cash. That's my number four.
Okay, well, my number 4 is Canada, the country. So I have an entire people because they like maple syrup and hockey and wintertime. So Canada.
I'm so confused on what your list is.
Yeah, this is a little tough. This is a little tough for me, like the way that my picks were going, like when I was processing this a little bit earlier. I like where your head's at though, because I had California as my next pick.
Okay. Yeah.
It's almost its own country with a much more, a larger economy than Canada. So I feel like California will be a much better pick for me personally
I
than
agree.
our neighbors to the north. I like that coastline.
Yeah.
Okay, my last pick of the draft. I think this is a pretty strong pick right here. I actually know him personally. This is Casey Carter. That is my
Oh,
number. He's my number five pick. So,
I'm just gonna pick my favorite book of all time, which is Catcher in the Rye. So
okay.
yeah, great book.
all right. I think I'm going to go back to weird creatures and I'm going to go for my final pick, the capybara, because they're just
Okay.
adorable and you just want to snuggle them all the time. So that's where
Mhm.
my head's been at. Weird animals, cookies in California. That's where I was today.
All right.
Yeah.
Our weird
So,
creatures.
like we do every time with the draft, we're gonna recap our top five list. I'll go first. Cars. Did I say Christian Bale? No, I said cinema. I said Cars, cinema, Christian Bale, Cash, and Casey Carter.
All right, time for my amazing list. Christopher Columbus, Christ, Cameron Diaz, Canada, and Catcher in the Rye.
All
Wait,
right.
can we go back to that real quick? Wait, you in the draft pick, you picked Christopher Columbus over Christ.
I didn't really think about Christ first.
No,
Kind
but
of my
like,
diamond in the rough.
I'm so confused.
All right. Interesting choice there.
Yep.
I think I like it though.
Yeah.
So my five were Chewbacca, the Chupacabra, chocolate chip cookies, California, and the capybara. That was my five picks.
Okay.
Round of applause.
Yeah, so great picks all around. I'll make a poll on Spotify this time because I think every single time I said I'm gonna do it, I haven't done it. So I will, in fact, do it this time. So that is the last sort of segment, but as we do every time, Mr. Carter,
To remain somewhat educational.
somewhat educational, we are doing particular news with Patrick,
And
and
my timer up.
Luke is gonna get a timer, and I'm just gonna read off a thing and give a little commentary. All right,
All
give me a
right.
countdown.
3, 2, 1, go.
Danish man sticks 68 matches up his nose for the world record. California man receives dozens of Amazon packages that he never ordered. That would be awesome. Curious fox steals animal rescuer's phone, takes a selfie video. That's a talented fox. Delta flight rerouted after maggots fall on passengers. I'm never flying on Delta, no matter what happens now. British zoo escaped bear cat found in a woodshed. I don't even know what a bear cat is. Um, NH state lawmakers' bill seek an official pronunciation of Concord. Pretty sure it's just Concord.
Concord.
Man wins 1 million lottery jackpot in 3 days after breakup. That's another lottery one for us.
Yeah.
Police find a large knife held by man who was in a Harry Potter wand. That's something Luke would do, I think. 34-year-old wombat at Japanese zoo is the oldest ever of all time. More than 35 cows escape when cattle truck crashes in South Carolina.
I'm pretty sure that's common.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
And you're done.
All right. I think my favorite reoccurring thing is the lottery.
Wait, what was the one about? Oh, Delta. Isn't
Delta?
Delta the one that had the diarrhea flight where they had to turn around because an old woman like had an accident in her pants on the flight and they were flying to like Paris or like something like that and they had to turn the entire flight around. It sounded awful.
Yeah, I would not want to be on that flight. The maggot one seems even worse though, because
No, apparently like the diarrhea flight, it was like going down the plane. Like it was a liquid flowing down the plane.
all right. Well, thanks, Luke, for that little bit of tidbit of information. That's the end of our episode. Thank you for watching or listening. And I'd like to say, thank you to my mom for watching and listening because she says I haven't mentioned her yet on the podcast. So I say thank you for my hair and my life, Mom. Thank you. Stay tuned for the next episode and we'll see you next time. And thank you, Mr. Carter, for being on the podcast.
Thank you guys for having me.
Bye.